been there for years. Yeah. Pottery warrior? No, she's been there for years. Yeah. No, she got, we reorganized things, so she's in charge of one of our technology divisions, but she's also CTO, so we still rock the side under this.
Yeah.
That's right. Was internet.
Yeah, only this one.
We ran into Steve Wolf.
Right.
Internet.
Yep.
He's 17.
The technical guy that you uploaded slides. Are they different from the slides that you sent to me?
No.
Okay.
I think not.
Okay, and I hope not, because he got confused and said, now I have two sets of slides from Tata, and are they the same or not? So and we'll just use the slides that you sent to me.
Okay, yeah. Must.
Yeah.
Steve used to report to me.
That's true.
Yeah. So
Maybe I sent him the wrong presentation. Right?
Please.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's an interesting theme, because you guys are much more because we work with
So 10 topics are as a challenge.
because we are in also different commercial relationships. So our contracts we also have to ensure
No choice.
all right, so
It's the right slideshow. It's not
That's good.
the one about us.
the wrong one.
Is it going? Three of us from Germany. Populated. I used to be with Siemens Munich.
When was it?
That was my first job after university. I joined them in 1970. Left in 76, went back in 82, and left in 88. Didn't meet them at Canada, so I joined them again. I had left Luxembourg, then they needed someone. And my old boss at Siemens in Munich told me up on it. Yeah, proper, yes, it's nearly about 5 years.
Still out. No, it's, Rosetta still does the relationships for the universities and the research and stuff. We're looking at innovative things that we can try and bring in. So, yeah, we just reorganized a little bit. Pottery Street, we got a new Jane Butler. Yeah, she left, so the replacement came in for her.
Okay.
So yeah, we're back on a little bit more of a research, keeping up with the research track rather than the let's go towards sales side of things.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's an exciting
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I started in 83. So I was home second. Wir haben auch versucht, also wir haben jetzt Wohnen, aber habe ich mir nicht so viel abgesehen. Ja, also hat alles.
Vor vielen, vielen Jahren so. I can open circuit. This is in the mix. Circuit It's not that you have those, it's called aquifers or something.
The aquifers with the water has to hit
Although the last months it's very dry here, so at least in Holland, because we're in a delta here, a couple of rivers as we go into the North Sea. The levels of the rivers are very low, so people living in boats where they live. Some of them are now like people who live on out there.
Let's say I'm a little bit, eigentlich, ich meine, mit der ADVA haben wir nicht sehr oft getroffen, Telekom, aber jetzt in Enterprise
Good afternoon, everybody. I still see people coming in, but it has been 2 o'clock, so I think we should start our session. My name is Karl Vietsch. I'm the Secretary General of TERENA, and it's my pleasure to be chairing this panel session here this afternoon. Now I'm waiting for the slides to react. So what are we going to discuss? Very simple, really. You have seen everywhere during this conference a special TERENA logo saying TERENA 25 years, because this is actually an anniversary year for TERENA. TERENA has been around for 25 years. Many of the national research and education networking organizations in Europe have also been around for 25 years. 25 years ago, the internet was still in its infancy, and it was our community. After Andrew Cormack's nice plenary talk this morning, I'm happy to say the word community once again. Our community, the academic community, the research and education community, the research and education networking community, that was at the forefront of the early developments of the internet in the United States, also in Europe and in other parts of the world. And in those days, there was very close collaboration between our academically oriented community and industry, because the internet was equal to research networks. There was no internet outside research networks. Of course, in the 25 years since then, that has all changed, and the internet has become very big, and a very large part of the world population is connected to the internet and is using the internet for all sorts of things. And it also means that lots of services are offered over the internet, commercial services, and a lot of the things that we used to do in other ways are now done via the internet. Which also means for industry that the internet has become a big market. And whether you're an equipment vendor or a telecommunications provider or a service provider related to the internet, you have many customers in industry, in banks, in big businesses, in small businesses. The research community, the education community is probably relatively a small community compared to the commercial customers. And we are not rich, so from a financial perspective, maybe we are not a very interesting customer community for companies. But the question is, does that mean that we are just another customer and not a very interesting one at that? Or are there still opportunities for collaboration, for partnerships between the academic community and the internet industry? I'm sure that all the panelists today are going to say the latter, so we will go a little bit deeper and try to explore what those opportunities for collaboration, those opportunities for partnership are, and what we could do together on a bilateral basis between companies and NRENs, or between companies and a club of NRENs, or between NRENs and a club of companies. Who knows? Anyway, that is what we want to discuss, see how we can go further. Because if you look at it in historical perspective, the very close ties that we had 25 years ago with industry have become a lot more loose. You could even say that our community may have lost contact with industry to a large extent. And a lot of people are saying now, looking ahead 10 years, that one of the ways forward is to strengthen the ties between industry and research and education networking. So also from that point of view, we may be discussing a very timely topic. TERENA has not completely lost ties with industry. As you have seen here in the exhibition, we have many companies here who participate, and many companies participate in other ways. And we also have a sort of formal liaison in the sense that there are a number of companies who are industrial members of TERENA. So we invited our industrial members to participate in this panel, and most of them agreed, and as a consequence we now have a panel assembled here with participants from 7 companies who are all TERENA members or are about to become TERENA members. We've organized the session as follows, that I've asked all the panelists to speak for about 5 minutes to give their own personal view or the view of their company on the question that I've just been explaining. That will take us a bit more than half an hour, and then the remaining time will be for discussion where we hope to have lots of questions from the audience, of course. We could take these 5-minute introductions in any order that we would like to, but we have actually 2 new companies aboard here. Nokia Siemens Networks and Huawei Technologies are officially not a TERENA member yet, but hope to become a TERENA member tomorrow. So we invited them as well. And because they're the new kids on the block, I thought it fair to put them at the end so that they can get a little bit accustomed to the way that we talk to each other. And once I had that thought, I thought, why don't we continue that line of thinking? So I have ranked the introductions in the order that the companies became members of TERENA. And the oldest industrial member present is Cisco Systems, which became a TERENA member already in the last century, I think. So as the first panelist, I would like to invite Chris Lundvik from Cisco Systems to come over here and do his introduction. I should say that Chris Lundvik works in the Consulting Engineering Department of the Office of the Chief Technical Officer at Cisco Systems, directing activities in research and energy management.
Thank you. And okay. Yes. So hi, I am Chris Lundvik. I do work for Cisco Systems. I am pretty sure I'm not the oldest person here. So Cisco has been a member of TNC and TERENA for a number of years. This is actually my first time up on the stage to talk to you all. We've had a long number of people who have been here before, and I think it's been very worthwhile. Let me, yes, okay. let's see, first off, I've got a couple things to say. First, the Office of the CTO within Cisco likes to look at new and innovative things and practical uses of good technologies. And so two things right off of that. First is I've got a passion for great technology and looking at fun and innovative things. I really like being here. And the second thing is that I make horrible slides. So please, these are just, let's go with the flow on this one. Help me out here. But this is Cisco's vision and strategy for how we approach any type of problem or opportunity within the company. First, our strategy for this, as y'all can see, is partner with everyone and just make the networks a living laboratory that we can participate in. And we've got two things that we do within that, two strategies to try and achieve that. First, partner closely with the leading NRENs on the development of new technologies, and the second is match Cisco product development with our own product designs and service offerings. And what we've been doing with this, several things just in this first strategy area here that I want to go over, just to give you all some introduction. I think a lot of you know Cisco at these things, but just a couple of points here. First, the student sponsorship. This is the third year we've actually been doing this, the second year that we've had a poster competition with it, and this is our investment in the future. So we're hoping that like in 25 years, these students that hopefully you've gone to talk to and seen their posters, they'll be up front here, either as members of the industry or members of your own community within the NRENs and within TNC. We think that's a great thing, and it gives a lot of exposure to these people to get in here and do a lot of things. We've also been loaning gear to several of the experiments that are going on. A couple of things, just let's see, this Manticore project, a few things within the NRENs, within Internet 2, a couple of router loans and everything like that, just to see where these experiments go to. The FP7 projects, I'm pretty sure most of y'all know what those are. They are the Framework Program 7 from the EC. These things are formalized investigation projects, and we've worked with a lot of universities over the years. The first one that we really got into as a full member was 6net, which is a deployment of, or a educational tool to get IPv6 kits out to universities and NRENs, mostly throughout Europe, but that one has actually been a great success for the EC as well as for ourselves. So just recently we put a kit in Cairo, Egypt, and they're now busy first learning how to deploy IPv6, and then they keep the kit and they teach that to faculty members, students, and everyone else throughout the country that they can get to the training lab there and teach them all about IPv6, so hopefully it spreads out. We've had a lot of success with that one. We're into a couple of others with Novi comes to mind. That is a project that is looking at network virtualization now, and so we're having a lot of fun with that one. We've had several speaking engagements at the Internet 2 members meetings, the TNC here, and at the APAN, the equivalent to this meeting over in the Asia Pacific. Here's my shameless plug. On Thursday, we're going to have a Cisco day. It's going to be 12:45 in one of the rooms around here. Please, if you haven't signed up for it, we still have space in the thing. Please come by. It looks like it's going to be a great just discussion of what's going on within these smart and green infrastructures. The task forces and working groups, we've got a lot of things going there, as well as things within the IETF. Cisco's been a strong supporter of standards developments throughout. Several outreach efforts throughout the world for the, that's R&E networks in developing nations. We see a lot of opportunities there to get developing nations on the right track to come back to the high standards that we have here in Europe. Some of the things that we're looking at moving forward, first off, we understand that the research and education networks are not telco networks, they're not service providers, so we're looking at them in a special case, and this comes back to us in the Office of the CTO. There's a lot of things we can be doing with new and innovative things, but we're spending some time here with these because we do see so many things that are forward and ahead of where the telcos are at and where they're going to. So we're seeing that there's two areas, the transport and the services. It used to be the NRENs. As we see it, we're providing transport between the universities, between some other institutions within each country. Those are kind of getting to be table stakes at this point. What we're seeing is that the new services that are coming up are foundation services like the storage as a service and the data center. I know a lot of y'all are getting requests from your constituent universities to provide those as services because of the scale factor and the economics to those things. Moving up the stack, we've been involved with federated identity, location, and mobility, things like that are services that y'all are getting into, and we want to be there to see how these things come along. At the top of that, cloud applications and various things that are just, you've been seeing these around for quite a number of years. We're seeing that you all, this community, is starting to be the provider to those things. Over back on the transport side, just the basic transport, that's table stakes. We've got to, you've got to be able to provide that to get a seat at this table here. So we're doing that. We're also looking at the high volume, high speed deployments, such as the square kilometer array, the Large Hadron Collider, as well as just pushing out IPv6 now to everybody. And finally, the network virtualization is something that we see as a very innovative thing. We see a lot of applications for that. We're investigating OpenFlow. I know that's going to come up in this discussion later on. So right now we don't have, Cisco does not have any products that run OpenFlow, but we're investigating it, and we just recently joined the ONF, Open Network Foundation, to participate in that and get some things going with that. So overall, I'd say, answer the question, yes, I think we're a partner with you all with this, and we're really looking forward to a number of years in the future keeping up this partnership so that we can learn more great and innovative things and apply it back to ourselves and help hopefully get these things deployed back within the community. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Chris, for your introduction. We'll move straight on to the next speaker, Yves Poppe from Tata Communications. Referring to the panel discussion that we had in this room yesterday, I can reveal that Yves is over 40, like many of us, and actually has been in the business for almost 40 years, from Teleglobe, as it was called then, and from Tata Communications now. He has been very helpful in developing research networking in Canada in the first place, but also all over the world. Yves.
Dank u, Karel. Good afternoon, everybody. In fact, it's a pleasure to be in Prague. And last time I was here was 20 years ago, so it's changed a little bit in the meantime. So, education partner, and I think I will try to demonstrate to you we are partner. I think it is my 10th TERENA session, so this is not bad. So if I can get these things going forward. The yellow one?
Green button, yellow.
That's one.
Maybe it's blocked by this.
Aha. This is one. So let's start. As Karel was saying, I started with Teleglobe in the R&E days, and we were a founding member of the Canary Network back in 1994. Canary, which is, as most of you know, the Canadian Research and Education Network. That was, of course, in the days that the Internet was born, and our first contribution was a transatlantic capacity, which was 155 meg in those days, which was used for demonstration between the Communication Research Center in Ottawa and Bercom in Berlin, which was the research center of Deutsche Telekom. And basically, that was the basis for what became GIBN, Global Interoperability of Broadband Network, and out of that came everything we know today. In the meantime, Teleglobe was was bought, well, yep. Aha, he jumps. Was bought by the Tata Group, and the Tata Group, as most of you know, is involved in quite a number of things. It's a $70 billion consortium with about 90 plus companies. You're all familiar with Tata Motors, of course, which makes the Nano, and bought the Jaguar and Land Rover, Tata Steel, which bought Chorus, which is the old British Steel, and Hohovens from Holland. Then there's Tata Communications, of which we are part of, and Tata Communication essentially constitutes of the old VSNL, which is the old monopoly international carrier in India, then the Tyco cables, and Teleglobe. So these three components are essentially what makes Tata Communications on a global scale. Then obviously in the meantime they have an extensive network in India, and also one in South Africa, which is Neotel. In South Africa, they got a second carrier license. Now, the origin of Tata in education and research was obviously in the colonial days, and the Tata Group was a precursor in the creation of what became the IITs, the Indian Institute of Technologies, which are quite well known. They created the Tata Memorial Hospital, and also after the Second World War, the TIFR, the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, which in the meantime became a full-fledged university. The TIFR is quite interesting in the fact that they were the ones who developed the first Indian computer in the 50s, and their focus is on mathematics, natural sciences, high-energy physics, and astronomy is very important to them. In fact, connectivity to CERN was one of the prime objectives, and they're heavily involved, of course, in the nuclear program for India. And they also are into astronomy out of Pune. The other component in India itself is the National Knowledge Network, which is in fact, I would say, an equivalent to Géant or Dante. Of course, India is quite big, with quite a number of states which have a high degree of autonomy. And the NKN, National Knowledge Network, replaces basically previous networks, including ERNet, and will be a multi-gigabit network also, which has gigabit-level international connectivity, including to Europe, through the TEN3 project funded in part by the European Union. With TEN3, there's a 2.5 gig connection between Europe and Bombay. In Bombay, there's a research and education node, which itself connects to Singapore, to Nepal, and to Sri Lanka. High-energy physics, again, we preach to the converted. If you don't communicate, you don't do collaborative research. You don't do collaborative research, you don't do research anymore. Astronomy is the same thing. If you want a very large baseline, you need, of course, the infrastructure, and the National Center for Radio Astronomy in India, which is located in Pune, which is about 2 hours from Bombay, is also run by the Tata Institute for Fundamental Research. Of course, the partnership in R&E networking dates back quite a while. Again, Tyco provides the capacity, or ex-Tyco in the meantime, and quite a number of additional cables have been put in, including CCOM, which connects the South African component, or version, I should say, of what will become SKA, the square kilometer array. As you know, South Africa and Australia are in competition. The South Africans have Meerkat, which connects at 10 gigabit through that system. Then obviously the TEN3 connection we were mentioning, transatlantic connections also are part of that thing. Now Amsterdam is the main R&E hub. Remember, since 2001 when we all made the INET demonstration, and it's still that way. In fact, you find that the IFR is also connecting there, and obviously we expect that to continue to be like that in the future. R&E and telepresence is something quite new. And in fact, here we have quite a good collaboration with Cisco. We have installed the telepresence gateway in the US, which provides connectivity to all the R&E telepresence centers. There's about 150 of them, which are on the National Light Rail and Internet 2. And we interface that to the external world. And that includes the Tata hotels. Tata is also in hotels. And that is growing by leaps and bounds, especially with the price of oil. In conclusion, I think Tata Group philosophy, research and education is an integral part. Again, it grew up, and as part of the independence movement, research and education was paramount. Still today, research and education to emerging countries and markets is a prime objective. And again, from a corporate interest, all the companies in the group benefit from research and education, and in order to do that in a global world, you need connectivity. That's where we come in. And also, if one looks at it from a pure education point of view, we should not forget that education has become a business. Universities nowadays, they go outside their boundaries and they compete for business overseas. If you see in the Middle East, in Africa, remote courses, remote campuses are more and more prevalent. So basically, if you don't provide good connectivity to your students, you have a competitive disadvantage. Thank you.
Thank you, Yves, for your introduction. Next up here is Nicolas Xenos from Juniper Networks. Nicolas leads Juniper's Academic Alliance program and is responsible for the global strategy for Juniper's technical training institutes.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel very comfortable with the mic. I have not found any karaoke in the Czech Republic yet, however, but I'll spare you the pain. My name is Nicolas Xenos, and I manage our Global Academic Alliance program. And it's a pleasure to be here today. As many of you know, Juniper has been around for quite some time in the research arena, and to the end that we supported Frederica, Canary, involved with Internet 2. You may have seen some of the interesting projects that have come out of the University of Rome, University of Valencia, and other initiatives that are in place right now. I think it is in our basic build out. You may have heard Pradeep Sindha do the presentation yesterday. We are into disruptive technology, but we have kind of an open-minded view of that. So we have developed a new network with the idea that there's a collaborative aspect to it, which allows a lot of innovation and a lot of creativity to occur. So our participation with that is creating the silicone and the software that sit on the systems, but to allow access to that. So in keeping with our mission and our goal, which is to connect everything and empower everyone, we provide what we think is a tremendous platform for research opportunities. And we do that through the access to our one operating system that sits on all of our platforms. So that means that no matter what area that you might be interested in producing some research or producing some projects, we have API layer access through our SDK kits into that industry platform. Now, it's interesting to do research in a variety of different areas, but if it doesn't apply immediately to industry, which I find is relevant to this panel discussion today, it's kind of a hard discussion with any companies that are out there, since they are looking for relevance of that research into what that means. So we look at the bottom line, we look at how, and I don't mean Juniper only, but the companies will look at the bottom line to decide how it fits, and it doesn't necessarily fit within the parameters of kind of general research. However, if we provide a platform for you to work on, an industry platform. Anything that you do there could be relevant to the industry today or whenever that project or research is finished. We provide that at the network layer, the network application layer, and also the user application layer through our various SDK kits. So we're very excited. We have been doing research for a number of years, as a lot of you know already. We've supported it. About a year ago, we formalized the program through our Academic Alliance program. And we support learning and we support research within 2 tiers of that program. We make it very, very easy to access the technology from a technical training point of view through our technical training institutes and also through our Juniper Research Universities and access to our operating system and also the SDKs that support it. So I think I kept it within 5 minutes, but I'd be happy to discuss the opportunities at any point. And our email address, and although I did not put it up there, is academicalliance@juniper.net. And I'd be more than happy to take that discussion any further and answer any questions as we go with the panel. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nicholas. Next, we have Remco Freiling from Level 3 Communications. He is currently the Director for Sales Engineering for Level 3 in Europe, the Middle East and Africa, and previously has worked with many NRENs in Europe as an acting sales engineer also for Level 3.
Thank you, Karel. Good afternoon, everybody. Let me first introduce myself. So I'm running the sales engineering organization in Europe for Level 3. And I think another question Karel posed in the introduction, at least on the web, is the question, are we a commercial supplier or are we a partner? So I will leave that question, or at least the answer to that question, regarding Level 3 in the middle and go through a couple of the things we have been doing with this community. So providing all kinds of services, high-speed internet access, wavelengths within Europe and across the Atlantic, dark fiber included with the co-location facilities needed to make that function. Being a TERENA member, providing services to different NRENs along the years, both here in Europe and in the US. And what's really good and a benefit of working with customers like NRENs is that you guys really push and still are pushing the envelope towards the supplier. So you keep us sharp. We really have to do our best and draw in all the resources from a technical perspective to answer your questions. And of course also provide you with the best possible services that will make you, enable you to provide your customers with their networking needs. The last couple of years we also did a couple of sponsor actions like sponsoring wavelengths across the Atlantic and trials. And we're currently working also on a couple of other trials which I think we should discuss later in the discussion. So if you look at the NREN as an industry, there's also, there's some friction. There's a little bit of a conflict if you look from the perspective, are we commercial partners or suppliers, or are we partners? And that's basically the tender rules and the tender cycles that we work in together, basically. So if you think of a partnership and you provide free stuff or you sponsor stuff, and in the meantime you have to go into a new RFP in which basically it's often aimed at the lowest prices also. The sharpest price will win. Where are you then with your basically long lasting partnership? So that's the question I have, and it's also a little bit of a difficulty we have basically internally also to explain to our management teams, okay, if you do something together, what in the end will bring it into the bank also. That's also important. So bandwidth is not a scarce resource. I think a very important question, and it's also a question we ask internally, and we're also in discussion with you guys, is do you really need to build it yourself, or could you also maybe more often use what we already built within our networks? We also use state-of-the-art technology. We're also looking at 100 gig capability because we really need it in our networks ourselves to make our networks run at the most cost-effective way. So that's an important thing. And then, what we also see right now is, you guys are also very good at that, is you see more and more media, video, and that kind of applications running over the internet. So technology, I think I could skip through that quite quickly. Next gen of any network will be faster, smarter, and have more capacity. It's really hard to predict what the next popular apps will be on our side. So for us, there should also be a benefit. If you look at benefits from a perspective of introducing new products that bring in money for us too. So I think the question here is from which new developments that you guys are working on can we also benefit? So which ones can we turn into new services to sell to our customers? So let me skip to this quickly. So another question is about the other community. So how important is the NRAN community compared to, for instance, other customer segments? So there's a couple of other ones that are also quite interesting at the moment to have a look at. For us, it's internet companies, the mega content suppliers, but also, for instance, if you look at what's happening at internet exchanges, they also are at the forefront of new technologies at the moment because they have quite some scaling problems to work through also at the moment. Broadcasters, for instance, if you look at basically setting up and tearing down network capacity for a couple of hours, if you look at what's happening in broadcasting land, that's where it happens every day. So if you have a broadcast from, for instance, a stadium that you need to transport to a network, a broadcasting network, that's also all capacity that's being set up for a couple of hours and pulled down again. And then the next time it's from another stadium or it's the Oscars or whatever, where you have to set up basically circuits to networks for a certain amount of time with a certain capacity. And then this is my last slide, and that's also about partnerships, and it's basically the combination of doing it yourself versus fully outsourced in a managed way. I think there's different ways of looking at, for instance, transport services, from basically buying either the dark fiber or a combination of managed and do-it-yourself service. So the middle part, if you, for instance, would work out a solution based on managed fiber with, for instance, the equipment from any of the vendors here in the room that we also work with, you can basically build a combination where there is more of a partnership between a carrier and an NRAN. So I hope this is some thought, food for thought, and let's discuss on this later. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we go to ADVA Optical Networking, and our speaker is Michael Roth, who is the Vice President for R&D at ADVA.
Thank you, Karel. I'm afraid we need to speed up a little bit because we are going to exceed our time. Anyway, I myself, I'm working in research and development, so I'm responsible also for delivering products. ADVA is a manufacturer at the end of the day, so we are certainly selling our gear, which we are developing. Is that the important thing for going together or partner with NRANs and research institutes? I don't think so, honestly. So I only have this one slide. You may find yourself or your institution you're working for on this one, and that shows what is important for us. We need drivers. We are constantly looking, what should we do next? What is the next cool feature to develop, to put into our gear? Do we need more soft features in? Who and what is driving that? You as a community are certainly driving this. What we need is a push into directions maybe we haven't even thought of, or maybe we thought is not of such a big interest. So who was a driver for big bandwidth? Certainly the research community. Example is the Pioneer network. They wanted to have 10 gig where no one else was asking for it. Dynamic optical networking. Certainly it was the research community asking for it, requesting it, and wanting to have equipment. So we had to show pretty early that we can do this, and you guys were adopting that. Did all this run in the first instance? Certainly not. And that is the next great thing dealing with you guys. So it's not, again, about making big money out of it, but it is the opportunity also for us as vendors to bring equipment into live networks, into very modern networks. And you guys are up to check it out with us. So we can set it up, we can work together if it is working, if our leading edge technology is doing what it is supposed to do. If not, then it is you working with us and we with you to make it happen. And then suddenly, after maybe a few years of getting it to a real product, it is then working. But you were the ones driving this, and we are committed to go on with that. So you see all those great projects and companies we are working with. I just want to pick a few of them. So there on the left-hand side, you see phosphorus and geysers, so the colored ones. These are Frame Program 7 projects we are actively in. Geysers is all about making slicing a network, virtualize it. We've heard a couple of interesting presentations during this TERENA session also about it. That is something we want to support with our gear, bring the gear also in, give you the opportunity to test that and make the reality check, and not just to stick with, say, software simulation on something. Also, networks have to be managed, so the software aspect is coming very important, and the One project is such a thing. People are saying nowadays we have networks which are complex already at layer 3, and then they are going down, and it should become simpler if you go to layer 1, but it certainly is not, because there's a lot of stuff to do. You usually have in carrier environments people who are experts on the one or the other, so either they are experts on transport gear, or they are experts on routers and layer 3. So can we bring those two worlds together in terms of management? We certainly can, and there are various aspects to that. You are also, as a community, driving us as industrial partners to work together. Juniper and ADVA are doing things together. So that is where a commercial aspect comes into play, where we are forced to think about how can we bring also on a very commercial base router world and the transport world together. We have checked this out also in an environment, HGANet should be mentioned also on the slide. That is where we have tested control plane interoperability. So a dynamic optical network and a by nature dynamic layer 3 network should be brought together. So can those control planes interwork? Yes, they can. We have proved that. And that was within this community. So it certainly does help us to develop things further, make it then a product. But so far it was a trial, and there was some work we as a company had to do together, and where you guys really helped us to achieve this. So there are many other networks where our gear was in, still is in, and will be in the future. So we are also committed to spend our time, our own personnel efforts, but also to bring in our gear in order to really do things in the future. I don't want to talk about our products. You can see them outside. So if there's some time and you want to spend it with us, hang out at the booth. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. As I said in the beginning, we have two companies who are joining us in the TERENA conference as TERENA members and here on stage for the first time. And this is an opportunity for them to introduce themselves to our community. The first of these two companies is Nokia Siemens Networks, which is represented here by Ulrich Berger. Ulrich is at Nokia Siemens as a business development manager in the global sales unit of optical networks.
Thank you, Karel. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's fine to be here. First, a few words about Nokia Siemens Networks, because Karel told me that not everybody of you might be aware what is Nokia Siemens Networks. So we are not Nokia, we are not Siemens, we are Nokia Siemens Networks. Back in 2007, our parent companies, Siemens and Nokia, carved out the carrier network divisions from their normal business and put it together in one new entity, and this is Nokia Siemens Networks. So we have a full portfolio for building networks for mobile operators and for fixed network operators. Indeed, we have not a complete set. We have no own routers. For routers, we are reselling from our colleagues here from Cisco and from Juniper. And I think indeed we are in the carrier segment, the largest reseller of both of them. Is it right? It's a green one, yeah. So let's say we have just applied for associated membership in TERENA, so we were not fully aware what is the expectations now. So we decided to give you an information what we are doing in the moment with universities and with research institutes. So this is a list of universities and research institutes we work together with. And they are in the moment only on project base, and they are in the main cases are funded projects, and often there are personal relationships also connected to these projects. But in the near future, there is a plan to create also strategic partnership with some universities, some of them. And let's say we have a process in our CTO office which is permanently looking what comes next in the network, how will it evolve in the future, and then they map the needs and our current portfolio and find out, do we have the resources or the skills to develop our portfolio in this direction, or do we need some skills outside? And in this moment, these strategic partners will come into place. Let's say, of course, we only will choose universities which have this bundle of skills needed to help us to close this gap and to become, let's say, a number one in this area. And okay, you say it's a plan, but as far as I know, we have next week a first meeting with a couple of professors in ESPO, and I think that is the first step to go in this direction. There is a sense to have regular meetings and discussions, and to have clear agreements on what to reach with this in this strategic partnership. Then, of course, we are also in the research cooperation frameworks. we are in many, or in, let's say in some of the 7P programs, in Forward, in PSIRP, in ADVA, in Futon, in Galactico, in ModeGap. I do not know if you're aware of all these programs. Some of you will maybe also in these programs or working in these programs. So Forward is for architecture and design for the future internet. The PSIRP is a publish, subscribe internet routing paradigm. ADVA is a Ethernet transport networks architecture. Futon is a fiber optical network for distributed, extendable, heterogeneous radio architectures and service provisioning. Galactico is an higher photonic integration of components for to be used in transponder beyond 100G, so for 400G and 1 tera, for example. And then ModeGap is the topic is new fiber technology and modulation methods in order to reach less nonlinearities, less attenuation, and to get multi-mode. Then we are also participating in Eureka programs like Celtic and INTEA2. VCE, mobile VCE, is a mobile virtual. Let me just check. It's a mobile virtual center of excellence in mobile and personal communication. That's a partnership of around 15 mobile communication companies and 12 UK universities which have special skills in this area. Then there is another one, Future Mobile Communication Forum. This is based in China. It's 26 mobile telecommunication operators, mobile communication equipment manufacturers, research institutes and universities worldwide. So we are, let's say, quite in close contact with the science community, and we want to understand how we can now connect also TERENA to this, or to as a partner to this ongoing activities. And here is another picture, especially from our transport unit. We have cooperation with 22 universities and institutes in Europe. I have to correct one figure. We have 18 PhD students last year. Now it's only 13, so 5 have finished their work already. And in the main cases, the topic of this dissertation will be given from our R&D department. And the students are in the most cases already known because of their master thesis they did also with us. Okay, that was all for the moment. So we are new in this club, and we want to understand how we can improve or create a partnership with you. Thank you. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Uli. And then last but not least, sorry for this cliche, but it's what you're supposed to say in these occasions. Last but not least, we will hear from another new member, Huawei Technologies, represented here by Liang Li. Dr. Li joined Huawei Europe in July 2007 as Senior Solution Manager and then Senior Solution Manager for Carrier Customers. He did that until October 2010, and he is now the Chief Solution Officer in the newly founded Enterprise Business Unit of Western Europe. Dr. Li.
Thank you. So I'm very glad to be the last one because I think the sleeping phase will be finished. So, and firstly, congratulations to TERENA for this 25th anniversary. I think TERENA is a big brother of Huawei. Huawei is younger than at that time. Huawei was not born 25 years ago. And today, and as a new member or new industry member of TERENA, I think I want to devote the following time to give a short introduction about Huawei. And certainly Huawei is known to somebody, but maybe to many of you not known. So I will say something about the Huawei. And before I start this presentation, I also want to make a comment. When I see the question, a commercial partner or a solution or a partner or commercial provider, then I ask myself why we make this difference. For Huawei, customer is the king or is the queen. We always treat them very well. So no matter whether it's a partner or it is solution a supplier, we are both. So this is the conclusion before I already make my presentation. Good. This one. Good. As I already mentioned, that 25 years ago, Huawei was not born. But now, Huawei is already, let's say, established in telecommunication world. And just in the recent months, we made a strategic decision to expand our business from telecom domain to enterprise business domain. So we think that basically here the title, convergence, agility, openness, globalization, these are the 4 values which I want to convey to you as the newly grounded enterprise business group. In the last 20 years, especially in the last 10 years, Huawei has been able to make a stable growth. Just like China maintained 10% of GDP increase, and Huawei managed to get the 30% year-on-year increase. And this trend will continue also for 2011 and also for the last 2 years during the economic crisis. And basically now we grew up to 110,000 people. And so we are present in 15 regions. Almost in every country we have our local presence. And also we have our R&D centers everywhere. In Munich, in Stockholm, in Rome, Milan, and whenever our customers are, our R&D centers are. And also, this company is really a technology innovation-driven company. So we are present in almost all standardization organization we are as members, and of course we apply the patent applications. We are maintained either as top number 1 or number 2 companies in the last 3 years. So the question is, why are we so able to be successful in the last 10 years or 20 years? The number 1 reason, of course, we have a full portfolio, extremely wide portfolio from devices, from networks, from IT solutions. All of them contribute to the very rich application platform, to the golden pipes, and also to the versatile terminals to really implement anywhere, anytime, whatsoever devices. So it doesn't matter whether it is wireless, it is wireline, it is narrow, or it is broadband, or it is telecom, or it is non-telecom. All this can be applied to this area. That is why the strategic decision from Huawei is to expand from the current 1 focus strategy, that is telecom, to 3 focuses. So besides that, we will have a consumer segment. We will also, and here I'm representing the enterprise business group. Here is just very brief explanation about what we can offer to you as customer or as partners. So basically, we have 3 base solution lines from IP, CT, and IT. So, for example, in this forum, We came here without knowing what we should present here. So we just show we pick up something, telepresence or video conference. We could as well pick up our new technologies like 100 giga transmission or our new technology in IP or anything else. But we can pick up the telepresence because we have them. Besides the 3 baseline solutions, we will have also for the vertical solution lines to deal with the requirements, the solutions from various kinds of walks of life. Banking, e-government, e-education, smart grid, GSMR, trail communications, any vertical industries, we will have solution lines. Of course, we deliver what we offer. We offer our service for the network integration, for deployment, also for training, for managed service also. So this is a very short presentation about portfolio. Of course, so what is our goal? What is our vision and why we think we are confident we can be successful? So vision, we really want to enrich, our slogan is enrich communications. We want to enrich ICT experience for global enterprise market. Here, when we talk about enterprise, that really means any set of people working together. Doesn't matter, it's a football club, it's a university, it's a government, anything, collection of people, they need ICT communications. We are there to enrich them for the communication. Of course, also we want to become the best partner in the vertical industry solution areas. So how we are going to make it? What we want to do is really to use our already established position in telecom world, to use the synergy there, to use the know-how there, then quickly transfer this kind of success also into the enterprise business unit. Of course, we want to cooperate with enterprise customers to accelerate their evolution or development of networks or technologies. The value, as I already in the title mentioned, convergence, agility, openness, and globalization. Let's talk about convergence. So as I already mentioned, doesn't matter whether it is wireless, it is wireline, it is narrowband, it is broadband, it is telecom, or it is non-telecom. We have all the products. So the question, usually easy question, is to ask what we don't have. Don't ask what we have. So this is number one. And with this extremely wide spectrum, it is fair to say that we are best positioned to convey synergy to our customers, to our partners, and also to grasp the tendency of convergence now happening in every walks of life. So for agility, we are new in enterprise business market. We are still in a stage to learn the play roles. And we want to cooperate with our partners, including universities, including NRAN or European RAN, doesn't matter which form. We want to cooperate with them. We want to discuss with them how to best fit to really reach a win-win solution. And for the openness, I think that really means our products, if we are as newcomer, then it will make sure that our product will be easy to cooperate, interwork with the existing ones, or for new to cooperate to accommodate the applications, solutions from any third parties. That means openness. Of course, globalization, as I already mentioned, we are present not only in China, in Asia, also in Africa, in America, everywhere. Yesterday afternoon, I heard the good news that Danta made a great success in signing cooperation contract with the African continent. And I really appreciate this kind of activities. I think with our globalized presence, we can also contribute to this kind of activities in the future. So this is the strategy we have always executed to joint innovation and the solution with partners. Of course, so far we have used this strategy to serve our telecom operators. We have our joint innovation centers for Deutsche Telekom, for Vodafone, Telefonica, and any other important customers. And we are also going to have the similar things with universities or with NRANs. Basically, what Huawei is going to do is to treat NRAN as one of the many vertical lines. So we will have a special account to deal with, to cope with the special requirements from these vertical lines. So this is what I want to say here. And I have heard very good, vivid examples from the other panelists. They have been in this area a long time. They are able to show a very rich reference list. And for Huawei, in fact, we can also show that. We have been building scientific research networks in China to connect more than 120 elite universities and also institutions. We have been built, operate, and managed the DFN network, Deutsche Forschungsnetzwerk, for more than 5 years now. We have tried 100 giga transmission technology the end of last year. And also, I think we are now engaged in SurfNet, in Dante, in quite some technical projects. Basically, what I want to say is that previously, Huawei has done this kind of job is in a rather discreet ways. Many cases, some country lot, some country less. But we are going to do is to really reshape this kind of engagement in a more systematic way, to really treat NRANs or similar organizations, similar applications or e-educations in a specific, dedicated vertical line. So this is what we are going to do. And I really wish that we can have a good cooperation. And so thank you very much.
Thank you, Liang, for this introduction to your company. And thank you also for inserting some Eastern wisdom in our discussion. You may be right, the starting question that sees a conflict between partners and commercial providers may be wrong. Maybe it's just one of our narrow-minded Western thinking that a commercial provider is a company that tries to sell you the product of the lowest possible quality for the highest possible price. And maybe the question that we are discussing is not a real question at all. But we'll see. We now start the discussion, so I expect that the lights in the hall will... Oh, this is magic. I only have to say it and the lights in the hall go up. So now not only you can see us, but we can also see you. Another practical thing, I see 5 red lights on the table, which means that all your microphones are on. That may cause some problems. So could you all press the buttons to switch off your microphones, that we'll have one at a time. When you take the floor, you press the microphone, the red light goes on again, and you can speak. I can ask questions, but questions from the floor are always more important. So who would like to raise a question, make a statement about collaboration with industry? It's always difficult for the first one to get up. Over there at the back. The microphone is coming to you.
Okay, this is Michael Enrico from Dante. Could you comment on how you look upon national research and education networks and the likes of Dante? Because in my experience in the past, vendors have often not known where to pitch us, whether to put us in the bin which is enterprise customers or whether to put us in the bin which is operator customers, because internally very often you deal with those two sectors very differently. So are there any comments from the panel on how you look upon research and education network operators do you look upon them as operators or as enterprises of some form or another, or something that sits in between?
Okay, so is Dante and also NRENs, I suppose, are they operators, your operator segment of the market, or enterprise? Who would like to comment on that?
Yeah, that's, if you look at our industry, because I think there's a real clear difference between the equipment vendors and carriers in this case. But we see the NREN community as what we call wholesale customers, so that's more on the operator side than on the enterprise side. I know that other carriers classify you on the enterprise side, but we really see you as high bandwidth customers, so with their own specific requirements, and such as a separate segment.
I guess I would say it's a little bit of both. There's some opportunities in that particular demographic, for lack of a better word, that allows other types of participation. Where so clearly there's some technical requirements behind it, but at the same time I think there's some other opportunities that would not be afforded in one of those two.
Just going down the line here, we see the NREN operators as being more risk takers than your typical telcos and PTTs. There's more, I don't know, you get into more services faster, you deploy them faster, you're looking for more opportunities to offer better services up to your constituents, the universities and the other members that use your network. So from the Office of the CTO, we see this as a place to look at new and innovative services that are going to come around. They're going to come around to the service providers and telcos sooner or later, but let's get out here and do some experimentation with you guys first.
Yeah. In fact, I think the NRENs have evolved tremendously over the last 15 years. Carl, we had the long discussions at times about existentialist discussions on what NRENs should be. In fact, one of the problems is that there is some overlap between NRENs and commercial carriers. Again, here we have two sides. We have the supply side on the equipment, and we have the supply side on the service side. Now, when an NREN provides commercial internet access to the universities, then the NREN will be in de facto competition with some of the ISPs within a country or within a region. This is one aspect. The second aspect, an NREN itself has customers. It's not a network to do research about network. In other words, I can break it. It has to be an operational network with quality of service, because you have to provide an operational service. And there's a delicate balance also. NRENs want things a little bit off market prices because they want it faster. So obviously, if you get government money, it is considered unfair to compete with commercial services. Now, the distinction between commercial services and research services becomes blurry. In fact, it's even becoming more blurry as we go forward. If you look in North America with the UCAN project, where Internet2 now would provide services to all schools and universities and hospitals and libraries, etc., they really get more into a higher capillarity competition with carriers. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. It is a competitive environment. Now, the NRENs have to evolve also. As I mentioned before, education itself is becoming a competitive business, and I was rather surprised in recent months in 3 cases of North American universities with projects in the Middle East. They want their own connectivity to the Middle East because they want to assure their own quality. Because now a student is a customer. If a student pays, he expects to have his courses given, and he doesn't want the network to break down. So there is an evolution in the concept of what an NREN is, what the supplier is on the service side, I think it's less confusing on the equipment side, but the world evolves and will continue to evolve. Thank you.
So we see the big Enrons and the Dante as more as a carrier. They provide carrier class services, and the requirements are carrier class. There might be some smaller Enrons which have still not reached this state. They are more on enterprise level, but also they will evolve in the future more in the direction of carrier operators for the science community of their country. Thank you.
So two short comments based on my experience from China. So from one side, the NRAN, so it's really, I see that there is a gray area. So there is missing regulations. So for quality requirements, for the full service requirement from the government, these are not really enforced in that area. This is one thing. And the second thing is that we have seen that the NRANs, they are more ready to try out some new technologies, to bear some risks. Somehow, I don't know where, but anyway, so we have engaged in many important university or education research network. They really want to try out something new. For example, this IPv6 network, we tried out in China. This is to connect more than 120 elite universities because they want to have it. And for us, this is a win-win situation. We also want to try it out. So it's a great success story out of this kind of thing. So maybe we really see that the NRAN, we see that NRAN is a better place for us to get a common research and a requirement. These trials, this is we see it. Maybe the telecommunication operators, they are more conservative. They really want to stick to the mature product because they probably the obligation they have to fulfill is hardwired.
So just in a nutshell, I think NRANs, they are operators. Certainly in the case of Dante and Gion, it's a huge network, right? And the efforts you guys are undertaking in order to make it even better, to provide even more services, and at the same time to be more flexible than you are nowadays, that shows everything an operator has. And the second thing, also the operational aspects, I think, are important to you. So in a very efficient way, you want to operate finally a network. So it's not just set it up once and let it go. You want to see it running, offer dynamic services to your community in a very high quality of service. So everything an operator has.
Okay, thank you. That was a very good question, and we got a spectrum of answers to that. I see another question there in the middle.
Hello. I was quite confused by the title of this talk because it said whether they're a partner or a service provider, and I thought normally those two actually go hand in hand quite well. And we found that being a sort of partner with our service provider has been beneficial for us in terms of getting feedback and being involved closer with our provider of the vendor kit. But on the other hand, it would also be odd if the partner wasn't a service provider, because in that case, what are they actually providing? You know, strange. But I've got two questions. The first one is in relation to equipment. We've gone to our vendor with requests for some features, and then their response recently has been, what's your business case? If these are reasonable requests, surely the old mantra of the customer is always right should be observed in this issue. The second question is, we found that as campus bandwidth requirements have gone up, we found ourselves being thrown into the carrier grade class and not being treated as a sort of university campus customer. So what will the future be there when campuses are 10 or 40 gig connected?
Okay, two very different questions. Maybe start with the last one. It sort of follows up on the first question, carrier or not, and what will the future bring? And do you now also put universities in that category. Who would like to comment? Chris.
What the heck? Let's see. First, following up on the first part there, is it a competitive nature between an NREN and a carrier there? We see that across Europe and in the United States. It's kind of a mixed bag. Some places it's very cooperative. Some places they're sort of eyeing each other as competitors. So as a company, we have to be sensitive to that and see how we approach each country, each NREN, each carrier within each country as per that. For the business case and stuff, yeah, times are tough. We're going to have to evaluate what we do on a per-case basis. We'd love to do all the features that come to us, but we've got limited resources, and we're kind of struggling with what we've got to keep things going. So we'd like to do everything. We can't do everything. That's kind of it. It's going to come down to a business use case. If we can start pulling together, the Office of the CTO, pull together where we're going with a bundle of features to address this market and show we're building on this to get into additional services within the NREN networks, and we feel that these are going to come back to reward us within carrier networks and enterprises. I think we'll do those a lot faster, but just individual requests for put this in, put that in without context, we're kind of missing it. And the second part, the carrier grade within your campuses, if it fits, it fits. I'm not sure, technology-wise, we're going to have to look at each of these things and see what we've got and how to match it up. We know that within each university, there's going to be some differences. There's going to be some special features or special applications that are going to need to be addressed. We're willing to look at those, but Cisco never says, take 42B off the shelf and put it into your network. We've always got account teams looking at specifics to that, and we're going to continue doing that. Okay.
Yes, Yves, please go ahead.
Yeah. In fact, I think the major problem at this point in time is not these NRENs. I think the NRENs have become excellent over the last decade. If one looks at the capacity available on networks like Dante or Canary or NLR, Internet 2 in the US, or CERNet, it's quite phenomenal. I think we now have more of a problem on the campus level. If I look in Canada, we have a lot of fiber going close to a campus, then the campus says, I have no money for the local loop, to the extent that we now have a special budget in Canary to subsidize local loops. Then you provide them the local loop, and then they say, well, we don't have the money to string it through the campus. And it goes on and goes on. And then you go to the faculty and says, well, do you have money to fund my physics or my medical or my whatever project? So basically, we can bring the horse to the water, but the horse has to drink at one point in time. So I think there is an effort to be made on a campus level, which, again, implies the funding authorities in government and higher education, and also some help from the supply side. Thank you.
To your question with regard to the business case for features, we know that campuses are, they do want to have sometimes fancy stuff, and especially having in mind this open flow thing, which by its nature inherits that some people want to try out their own protocols, their own dynamic behavior on top of existing equipment. There's a danger to equipment vendors like us because the equipment itself, it's getting somewhat commodity, but certainly we as ADVA are committed also to support this one because we see there's a great potential. Universities, again, as a driver for technology and also finally for the business, by trying out new behaviors, setting up new services on top of that, that requires support from the industry because you do need the gear in order to do this. So the business case is not always something which has to do just with money. There is also the feature development long-term to be taken into account.
More questions? Let me raise a question myself. And I thought of the question that is the theme of this panel, commercial providers or partners. And just about the whole world has now pointed out to me that I was wrong, that this is not the right question. So let me try to rephrase this question in a different way. The short summary is, what's in it for you? Yes, we pay you money, but you've all been pointing out that in your collaboration or in your selling to the research and education sector, there's more in it than just getting money from us. And more importantly, how important is that to you? Because I go back 25 years, it was extremely important to the company starting then. Many of your companies actually started in a university in the first place, and the research community was very important as a partner because, well, you learned everything that you know now from them. Now we're 25 years later. How important is that community still for you? How important is it for your business? Could you say something about that? Let me start with Nicholas at the end and then work my way here.
Thank you. So I would say just in the way that we architect our environment and our operating system, clearly we're very much engaged in this community. We enable research, we enable activities that would promote the creativity using an environment. I mean, I've heard OpenFlow, we support OpenFlow in a certain sense as well. But when you think about a corporate culture and the way that we go to market, so to speak, in this environment, you know, you can either enable advancements, enable technology, or have things hook into it. So I think the way that we've set things up in our environment, it's clear that we have a very open mind about it. And to that end, I mean, you saw our announcement about Junosphere, and there's some developer aspects that are coming to that as well, coming down the road. And so that continues to allow this community to engage with industry and a vendor, so to say.
Okay, Remco, how important is our community for your company?
I think it's quite important still. So it used to be much more.
So it's becoming less important.
Yeah, because there's also other market segments that are very innovative. Say, for instance, the financial markets right now. We're very keen on bringing down latency in their networks, and there's a lot of money being put into those markets too, which drives innovation. But from the NREN as a market segment, I think it's still very important to carriers to really look at what you guys are doing from a product development point of view, because there are still some great jewels to be found within what your guys are developing, which could basically become next products for carriers. So from that perspective, I think it's still a very, very interesting and important market segment for us. Last one is then, for instance, 100 gigs. We are going to use that also, but I think the first alpha beta customers will be NREN. So that's an example of new product development.
Chris.
To be real honest about it, Cisco's been a little bit inconsistent in this area over the past number of years. We started off real tight with a lot of NRENs up till about 4, 5, 6 years ago, somewhere like that. We took our eye off the ball. We missed out on some of the developments that are coming along here. A few people within Cisco kept up some of the relationships, and we're benefiting from those now. And we're, like I said, Office of the CTO, we see a lot of innovation coming out of this community, a lot of new things that we see are going to be applying into the rest of the networking in general, and then moving up the stack. And we would like to move up the stack with you all, get the transport things going, and then see where the applications ride, along with some Cisco products that come along with that.
Yves, how important are we for such a huge company as Tata is?
Yeah. Well, from a Tata point of view, I think NRAN globally is quite important, again, especially in the emerging markets. If you look at North America, Europe, part of Asia is quite evolved. Other markets, Africa, Middle East, you still have very monopolistic behavior by carriers. So as you know, your prices for bandwidth will be 10, sometimes 50 times what you pay across the Atlantic. Trans-Pacific remains very expensive. Asia to Europe remains quite expensive. That has to go down. Now, what's even worse, if you look on national levels, talking to a number of networks I'm thinking of in the Middle East and Africa, it's just outrageous what the prices are for local capacity. So that's where something has to give. So our message basically is be part of the global community. If you don't collaborate between your own universities, you don't get any research done anymore. Of course, they consider still the neighboring university competition very often because they will take my children away. But again, in a global economy, this has to change. So from that perspective alone, I think NRAN is very important. Now, if one sees it from a supply, again, partner and supplier, if you talk partner, you expect from a partner some fidelity. Now, where does one find the fidelity? If you have an open tender, you have absolutely no advantage whatsoever if you're a partner or if you never came to a TERENA meeting. So that's where I think all the supply side has a bit of a problem when they have to justify special conditions, special development, etc., for the research community. But I agree with Chris, if you take your eye off the R&E, there is always a risk because there's always one university somewhere or one community coming up with something new. The internet was the perfect example of that. Thank you.
Yes, let me comment on that because the whole point about tendering was also brought up, I think, by Remco in his introduction. And I can see that is a problem. But actually, now I want to do a promo for my own organization because that is what TERENA is for. TERENA is not your customer. We don't buy any of your products. So we are not restricted in any way to collaborate with you. So while with individual NRANs you may run into a conflict because they sometimes run tenders, and with Dante as well, TERENA is the forum where you're free to collaborate with us and through us with our members, the same NRANs, without getting this conflict between partnership and formal tendering procedures. My apologies for this commercial for TERENA. Let me go on with Ulrich Berger.
Yes, one thing we are not sure how to distinguish between NRANs or the communities there and the science community. The science community we see as a creator of pioneering ideas and as a source to transfer these pioneering ideas into reality. I do not understand in the moment exactly how this interworking is, but of course this community is decisive for evolving the communication networks of the future. And of course, NRANs are important as a customer too. And I want also to say something about functionality which needs to be provided on the short term. You're always driven as a company from your lead customers. You never have enough resources to develop everything at the same time. So the lead customer, and this is in the main, most cases, the customers with the highest volume or have a most impact on the market, they are eating up all your resources on short term. So the development is then more in the mid-term or long-term. On short-term, you're always occupied by your main customers. Thank you.
Thank you. Liang.
So I first apologize. I should have never questioned your panelist questions. So about how important NRAN to Huawei, I think in principle, I have to say it is important. But how important, we still need the time. We need engagement to see how important. But I see at least in two aspects. For us, we will certainly commit to this the NRAN development. Number one, this is social morality. We want to support, enrich the social, so the communication, digitalization, and this is something we need to do when we present ourselves in Europe. Then we will do anyway. We will do things in this direction. This is number one, and then number two. I see some people laughing, but I say it very frankly. Number two, we treat, of course, NRAN as our customers, as kin or as queen, doesn't matter. And we want to get really from the cooperation with NRAN to understand the real requirement from the society, from the community, and also from specific environment, because this is, otherwise, our innovation, our technology innovation is without any directions. So this is the task, especially the headquarters of Huawei, given to us, to the European headquarters. We want to get the European requirements, and we really believe that from the NRAN cooperation or similar corporations, we can get a real understanding of the requirements. So this is the second, that's the point we look into.
Thank you. Michael?
You said correctly, Carl, that we have been learning from this research community, and we are still doing so, I can tell you. So, and that is the truth, and that is a source for us, and that is also how we have to take it. It needs some reinvestment for us. It is also correct that we as real companies need to earn money, and we are driven by our lead customers, but there need to be some money to be reinvested for the future, for the long-term future. That is also what we are doing, and we are gaining a lot from this community here. So new ideas, the way how to approach networks, also the way sometimes how much of a risk they are taking. They know they are pushing us for new features, but in turn they are also taking the risk of having a very early product and finalize it together with us. So they are, if you like, friendly customers. That is what we do appreciate. And also the pushing factor is great for us. So keep pushing.
Okay, we will. Thank you very much. I'm afraid, ladies and gentlemen, that we're already 10 minutes past the supposed closing time of our session. So I need to finish this discussion. But please join me in thanking again our panelists. Organizers asked me to make some practical announcements. I have 4 of them. First of all, demonstrations, including demonstrations by companies represented here and the booth of the companies represented here. Please visit them in the breaks. In the particular break that is starting now, also the presenters of posters will be there near their posters to explain about them. Third announcement, tonight, gala dinner. Historic trams with beer and water taking us there. I've been on these historic trams before for another event. I can recommend it to you. This is really quite a nice experience. But trams don't wait for you. So you have to be near the reception on the 2nd floor, either at 6:45 or at 7 o'clock, or your last chance at 7:15, and then you will be guided to the trams to take you to the gala evening. And fourth and finally, you all received an email about evaluation of the sessions with a code. This is very helpful for us as Train in organizing these conferences. So please help us making the conference even better by giving your evaluations of the sessions as indicated in the email that you received. Thank you very much.